Hey everybody, we're back playing more Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I know it's been a minute, but we got two new solo modes that's up, and I'm gonna tackle them and play a little bit of online, and then we're gonna get right into Overwatch 2. I was gonna play like last night if you was watching my new movie reviews of the Adam Sandler movies Murder Mystery that's on Netflix. If you haven't already, check out those films. If you have already, definitely check out my video right away and hear my thoughts on them. But I was gonna hop into Overwatch 2 right afterwards, but I kind of got tired. It was like a long day for me yesterday. I didn't have the spare energy to do what I wanted to do. But now I'm gonna do some multiplayer stuff. Okay, The Legend of the Star Heroes. I think this particular story is probably the most continued version, because we keep going back into the same story with these kind of same characters. Because I think they kind of update this particular section, because I don't see like the previous things. I don't know. Yeah, see, like the World Legacy people. It's like, why is this particular mode, story mode, gets 4 different chapters? I mean, you could, I mean, yeah, granted, I guess the archetype of the cards has a lot of support to it, I guess, but I imagine there's like some decent amount of, you know, support in the other stories, at least half of them. With the fall of World Legacy World 1, the guard dragons awaken and the advent of the great darkness draws closer. Will Uram's choices change where the World Legacy will lead us? Jesus. It's gonna be a long one, man. There's only one serious duel that we actually get in this linear story. At a certain point, they just want to tell this particular story. Where the World Legacy leads. With Babel's activation, World Legacy World 1 tore through the sky and fell on Earth. Its tremendous mass pierced the Earth below. Just as its devastating aftershock was about to strike the warriors of the Crusadia, a blinding light fell upon Aram's eyes. A light even brighter than from the battle with Albli. Umduk had used the power of the gods to call forth a gigantic barrier. As the gust of destruction blew past them, the barrier dissipated. Umduk had sacrificed his life to shield the Crusadia. With his life force depleted, Umduk falls to the ground. Uram is left speechless as he touches Umduk's fallen body, the body of his invaluable ally. A wave of guilt rushes into his mind, as it did once before. Oh my god, this kind of reminds me, I started checking out that Chainsaw Man anime. I'm not sure how soon will I do like a spoiler review kind of thing. It's just somebody brought it to my attention. It's like, you know, I really need to set some time out and actually check that out, because everybody's loving it and I'm like 3 episodes in, so I gotta check it out. I mean, so far I'm like digging the animation more so than anything else. The story, I gotta give it some time. I actually considering doing like a surprise spoiler review, TV show spoiler review for Chainsaw Man. It depends on how, because it's only 13 episodes, so I'm going to try to binge it as quickly as I can, and because definitely want to do it before I start all my X-Men related reviews, comic, movie, TV shows that I got down the line for the coming weeks. At least probably start those sometime after my birthday in a couple of weeks, because I want to review the 3 Clerks films as well before I start X-Men stuff. But there was no time for sorrow for either Aram or the Crusadia. The fall of the World One exposed the World Legacy World Arc and activated it. The fallen Imduk was then consumed by the World Arc. The power of the World Arc has over life and death was infused with the godly power of Imduk. And this combination took the form of a 2-headed dragon, Guard Dragon Andrake, which then descended toward Aram. The Guard Dragons had awakened. The shattering power rippled through the planet and reshaped each world legacy into a draconic form. Even as the world legacies took the forms of dragons, Nigirisu was not fazed by their threat. Eve's revival. That was the sole thing that pushed him forward. Carrying the body of Eve in his arms, he approaches the mechanical doll. Using the key embedded in it, he should be able to control even the draconic world legacies. Ningirisu attempts to revive Eve's soul, using the key to control the world arc and its power over life and death. And finally, at long last, a brother's wish for his sister was to be fulfilled. The doll slowly absorbed Eve's remains. Smile for me again like you used to before. Nigirisu calls upon Eve. Eve and the doll became one. Eve and the doll become one. The soul's revival is complete. However, the soul now bound within the machine body was not that of whom he sought for. The smile on her face was not the compassionate smile of Eve, but a wicked grin frozen in place. A smile belonging to Lee, who had merged with Eve's soul. The resurrected Lee took control over the puppet and using the power of the key, she decimated what remained of Eve's soul. She then called upon the now draconic world legacies and consumed them, growing to enormous size. This girl's going through her paces, man. They just abusing the corpse left and right. By consuming Eve's remains and the 5 dragons, Lee turned into a monster known as Nightmare Incarnation Edley. Edley then used the power of the key and the world legacy to create a crawler as large as a mountain named Des X Crawler. Ghost in the Machine. Ghost in a Crawler. Aram and his allies noticed that the spinal protrusion stretching from the dais was connected to the sealed Great Darkness. As they approached to stop it, a dreadful black dragon blocks their way. It had been consumed by a deathly force and became Italy's vanguard. It used to be Imduk. Now he had become World Legacy Guard Dragon Mardark. After the battle with the Orcust and being engulfed in the shattering world, the Crusadia was left barely standing. I'm surprised this world is not just scorched earth. You know, this kind of reminds me, I saw like the latest state of play of Final Fantasy 16. It is so Devil May Cry it hurts. I am looking forward to getting it this June, but it's like, man, it is like, it almost feels like they kind of like trying to put a coat of Devil May Cry paint over Final Fantasy. What you call it, the summons, pretty much like just kaiju battles at this point. It's kind of cool. After the battle with the Orcust and now World Legacy Guard Dragon Mardark stands in their way. Was it inevitable that the Great Darkness would fall into Lee's hands? Just as Uram was about to give in, a flying dragon lands before Edley. It was Guard Dragon Justica from the Forest of the Stars. The shimmering blue dragon used its power to rip out Eve's body that was bound to Edley. In that moment, it began to shine brighter, enveloping the area with a flash. Then the light gathers. As Uram opened his eyes, he sees the figure of a young girl, the kind eyes of the girl he knew so well. Ninjirisu's sister, his childhood friend. Their time in the village, their quest for the world legacy. He has shared his hardships and joys with her. It was none other than Eve. She had supposedly been destroyed by Lee, yet she stood before his eyes. Uram and Eve were reunited once again. Yet there was no time to rejoice, as another calamity soon occurred. Edley's body, now separated from the key and its inheritor Eve, could no longer control the world legacy and went into overdrive. Edley howls as Uram and Eve turn to Marduk, who has suffered a similar fate. He wants to say Marduk, this Tekken character. To save their friend Imduk from the deathly force possessing him, they attempt to call upon his soul. Their call drives it from his body and awakens his soul within. The awakened Imduk amplifies his life force and is reborn as the divine dragon, World Chalice Guard Dragon Armaduk. That is one long title. Even during this transformation, Edley's rampage continued. And at last, the monstrosity dug up by Deus Ex Crawler reared its head. Upon seeing the abomination, Eve explains, "This is the true form of the Great Darkness. It is the embodiment of the divine power, world gears of theological demiurgery." These long titles, man. Ninjirisu originally attempted to use the key in the machine's body to control the draconic world legacies, and thus they tried to revive Eve's soul. However, this procedure failed. It instead awakened Lee, who took control of her body and spirit. As Ninjirisu falls into despair, a miracle happens before his eyes. A shining blue dragon appears and fuses with Eve's remains. As a result, his sister, the person he cherished more than anyone else, has returned. Was he dreaming? Is this real? What has happened? As Ninjirisu considers this, he feels something reach out to his soul. It was what remained of a fading mind. belonging to the vessel made to house Eve's soul. It was the echo of the doll's final thoughts. It was nothing more than an artificial body, but perhaps through the power of its host, or because of the power of the key, the empty vessel grew a conscience that was neither Eve or Lee. Who the conscience belonged to, or if it was similar to humans, the doll did not know. However, it still had a heart to care for its master. When the newly revived Lee attempted to erase the soul of Eve, the doll transferred Eve's soul to World Legacy World Chalice in the Forest of the Stars and sacrificed herself to save her. Ironically, this was the same method Lee used to deceive humankind. But Lee failed to notice, as the purity of the doll's heart was indistinguishable from Eve's. Having heard this final echo, Injirisu clutched the sash that had belonged to Eve, the doll, and Galatea, and stood with renewed determination. At last, the great darkness, the avatar of divine power, had arrived. World gears of theological demiurgery. Facing such an overwhelming foe, Oram remembered a passage from the Legend of the Star Heroes. To send off the great darkness, Oram informs Eve and his Crusadia allies of his plan of action. His plan was to inherit the key, which Mechanic Blue Sky had once attempted and failed. He aims to use the power to combine the gathered world legacies into a single entity. Assisted by Eve and his allies, he begins the unification. Upon realizing Oram's plan, the desperate nightmare incarnation Italy attempts to stop him. Imduk and Crusadia gave their all to defend Oram and Eve. However, Italy's attack was tremendous. Just then, a man with a sash clenched in his fist came forth to face the challenge. It was Injirisu. He gathered all the remaining parts from Babel and the Orcrus and forged a colossal spear. With it, he strikes Italy with a ferocious blow. Gathering up all this might, Injirisu then forces his final and ultimate creation, Forges. A creation intended to protect the divine recreation of Eve. Okay. It was a colossus combining every Orcrus and even the creator himself. Injirisu, the Orcrus of the Evening Star, had been born. Injirisu, with the power of a machine god, did not hesitate while striking with his spear. Subject to this fierce assault, Italy's body fell apart. And even yet, Lee Lieutenant Spear was obsessed with attaining godhood. With her sanity long lost, Lee used Deus Ex Qualia to forcefully bind her soul to the world legacy. The overwhelming power of the gods was enough to accelerate the destruction of the planet. And Oram and Eve continue the key's accession. All their allies stand to defend them. The planet's destruction looked inevitable, but not a single soul was about to give up. And each and every one stood firm to fight against the brave power, divine power. With Aram having inherited the key, he wielded the power of the world legacy as the legendary world hero. Mekhnite Crusader Arver Max. Ugh. One second, everybody. Choose Ray Rapper. All right, here we go.
Time to duel!
Okay. Dang, this World Legacy thing's crap. Oh my Yugi one. Gotcha. Swords of Revealing Light. I love Swords of Revealing Light. Oh my god, it got me out of so many gems. Really could some of my slifer, but it's alright. Wrap this up.
You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck.
Aram wields his powers to evade, block, and neutralize the thrashing waves of destruction. And he gradually closes in on the rampaging world gears of theological demonry. Making his way inside, it was as if he was being guided towards its innermost sanctum. In the sanctum await Lee, but not in her fairy form. Instead, she had the form of a human. It was the faint reminder of her consciousness. Faced with the woman who had so stubbornly strived to attain the god's powers, Aram asked, "Why did you go down this path?" Lee, standing in front of him, did not open her mouth. Instead, her obsessive thoughts and memories that pervaded the surrounding area rushed into Aram through the key he held. Thirst for knowledge as a woman of science and the pursuit of truth. If it was only so simple, the world may not have ended up this way. But Lee's ambitions were that out of the ordinary. She wanted to discover the truth behind the legends, and she did not hesitate to seek the divine power for herself. Was this merely a coincidence, or an inevitable fate? The calamity came about because Lee lived in an era in which the key existed and society was highly developed. More thoughts and memories rushed into Aram. This time, it was Lee's nightmarish plan. The divine powers will be mine. To obtain them requires complete dominance over the power of the key. However, the overdeveloped civilization of machines had sapped the power from the earth. As such, the humans of that era could not commune with the planet and thus could not become the successor of the key. If civilization must fall, so be it. Lee used Project Meknite and even her own death as a means to to bring destruction to the world. After an eternity, she waited for the earth and its inhabitants to heal and to find the true heir of the key. And now that time has come. As Lee's glee in meeting Eve and her excitement in gaining control of her rushed into him, Aram clutched the key with anger and sorrow. Lee was driven by nothing more than obsessive curiosity. There was no sacrifice too great for her goal. She had destroyed a civilization and toyed with the lives of many. Though her actions did not bear malice, they were nothing short of evil. Last one. The Crusadia, World Legacy, and Eve. Countless times she hid her true intentions, and ultimately she attained divine power. World gears of theological demagoguery, the primordial form of all gods. A vessel allowing divine deeds in accordance with the will of its controller, a program of transformation. Those who have become gods before eventually lost control of the power of destruction and were decimated, leaving only the key. To avoid that fate herself, Lee laid out her plans carefully. She integrated the crawler and its hive mind to achieve complete control over the divine powers. Or so it was intended. In the face of Eve and Imduk's will to sacrifice their own lives, the miracle achieved by the machine doll, and Ingirisu's determination, Aram became the successor, overcoming sorrow and uniting people along his journey. Lee still could not comprehend how her plan had been foiled by the combination of their willpower. As the remnants of Lee's mind vanished, a source of enormous power remained unclaimed. Aram, as the successor, needed to make a choice. The demagoguery, corrupted by Lee's evil, has already rampaged across the planet and reduced it to rubble. The power of destruction once sealed by the gods grows yet stronger. The power of creation that served as the planet's core was mostly extinguished. Memories of his journey came back to him, and the memories of his loyal friends and allies. What it is he must do as the successor of the key. After a moment that seemed like an eternity, Aram makes his decision. As if in response to his will, the power of the key was released. Aram and demagoguery turned into a ray of light and merged into a single entity. Amidst the dying world, a new god was born. Here was Avida, the rebuilder of worlds. Aram, now wielding unprecedented power to equal to the gods, slowly raised his key and gave a command. The decision he made was, bring back all those lived lost amidst this war over the world legacy. And by raising me to godhood, allow me to end the reign of the gods and prevent conflict over divine power from happening ever again. These seemingly conflicting commands were the result of his wishes. Perhaps this was the blasphemy, a choice no human had a right to make. But this was what Aram chose. And so, Avida, rebuilder of worlds, started the program. The crumbling earth turned into particles of light and gathered before Avida, rebuilder of worlds. All was engulfed in blinding light. Now this is the last one. Countless time has passed since that battle. The war over the world legacy. At its climax, Aram wished for the revival of the planet and the lives lost. He then disappeared without a trace. The planet was once destined to be destroyed by the destructive divine power. However, the battle scars of the war had vanished like an illusion. Lush green nature fills the land, and life blossomed as it always used to. In a world without Aram, one final gift was left for Eve. A key that controls the fate of the planet. The sword with the power of the world legacy. The world legacy world key. Eve, with the sword from Aram in hand, set out on a journey to remember the planet that her beloved brother protected. Imduk accompanies Eve, and Ingarisu watches over them from afar. Born anew as the protector of Eve and the planet, he is tasked with ensuring Aram's wish is realized. Accompany him as he supports Eve from the shadows. In the now peaceful world is the fairy Galatea. Under the glistening starlight, Eve takes the sword in her hand and shines it faintly. She and Imduk follow the ray of light toward the sky. Where does the world go from here? Hope is abundant once more. Eve carries on forth, guided by the world legacy to what lies beyond. Okay. Now, the Rikka Fairies descend. The Rikka flutter down into the winter sky and show their splendor in 1,000 different ways. In a moment until it fades, they share countless moments of wonder. Thank God this is short. Like fluttering petals floating in the wind, they danced. Like floating petals flowing in the gentle breeze, they fly. From the chilling sky, the night falls. Snow and ice cover this vast land and color the world white. Though destined to pass and fade, their beauty persists. They fall upon all, even on the flowers that burrow out of sight. Even as winter approaches, these flowers still bloom strong and proud. The icy shard on the flower's petal begins as a droplet. The droplet soon blooms into a brilliant crystal of white, ever so beautifully. Those who dwell in flowers and are born from blossoms are the Rikka Fairies. As colorful as the flowers that decorate the world, the fairies take on many forms. They appear as fair maidens with gorgeous parasols in hand. I see, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel went through a couple of updates recently. I can see the nice little animation is being added with, like, the way the swaying of the arms and stuff in hand. Nice touch. The secret of these snow flowers remains under wraps. The deck features an effect that is triggered by tributing itself or other plant type monsters, and multiple monsters with effects that are triggered by other monsters being tributed. I want to use Kaiba. Why the heck not? Let's try it. Yeah, it's not a good hand. I won't be able to put up a decent enough fight. So Where were you a little while ago, trap card? Son of a gun. He would draw like a magic card at that time. It could have easily gotten a freaking monster. The one time I wanted you to draw like something other than a monster card. Come on, what is up, people?
You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck.
No soup for you.
You triggered my trap card!
Ah, you suck. Like, I just enjoy summoning Rise Falcon, just like Ray did. And I'm pretty sure his name was Ray. Probably like the only character I won't say the only character, but I really like Ray in the Arc 5. Probably one of the few characters in Arc 5 I actually enjoy. Should have done this right away. I never had to use this secondary effect before. All right. Under the snowy sky, two fairies sung a song. Gracefully with their eyes shut, they sang with dignity. Their voices rang with humbleness and love with each verse from their lips. The harmony of their song was cheerful and soft, as if to present the meaning of happiness. The sun glitters in all its splendor upon the garden where the flowers bloom. Two fairies exchanged looks. The hope of the world born and bred, and the guiding hand that leads the way. A radiance that comforts the uneasy heart, and a hand to support one's burden. Beautiful are those who take hand in hand, and give strength to those in need, even against all odds. In the dim flow of time, two fairies gracefully danced. With one bold step, their clasped hands are held in trust. Though their steps are modest, their clasped hands are held in longing. With their spinning parasols, they open up the world, creating a path that persists even through sorrow. Swaying and dancing all the while, your soul glistens in colorful shades like a bloom of snow. As it twinkles and sparkles, oh, can you see the secret of snowflowers in your eyes? Just a quick battle just to get that third solo task done. Blackwing. It's been a minute since I used Blackwing. right? My crust card. Guess that monster only Grandmaster only works if he was already on the field, so c'est la vie. Just in case. Okay, let's do at least one online duel. It's fine. Win or lose, I just want to at least put in some time into it for you guys. Should have gone with Amulet Dragon like a goofball. Yeah, never had to deal with like a fright fur. Well, not fright fur, like the teddy bear thing fusion cards. Fur hire. That was for hire. Never had to deal with those cards before. Oh, it's one of those guys. Self-destructing types. I don't know why. It's gotta be a person, because like, why would you set up your deck just to kill yourself or unalive yourself? I'm sorry, YouTube. Gonna have to surrender. He doesn't have much life points. He can't afford to place any cards on the field. I was curious to see if that would half that damage, but I guess it's just battle damage. Okay, we finally got in some time for some Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. So I'm gonna take like a few minutes, then I'll hop on to Overwatch 2. So I'll see you all in a little bit, and definitely gonna try that new character. It's, I guess, like a new healer. So anyway, I'll see you all in a bit.